Alrighty guys, in today's video I'm going to talk about how Mexico City got my dating life back on track. But first, a little bit of my Genesis story. So I actually grew up way up north in the United States, quite a bit overweight. So my dating history out the gate was not that successful at all. Like zero opportunity. In fact, it was actually about the opposite way to where not only could I not get a date, but any attempts at trying to get a date was met with almost 80s rom-com type public humiliation. But luckily I did something about it. About 17 years old, I lost a considerable amount of weight, started getting to the gym, started getting into shape, and actually went abroad here in Mexico, not Mexico City, I was in Guadalajara, to play baseball on a foreign university team. So at that time, I had seen very, very quickly the night and day difference between my zero dating options in the US and not only almost unlimited dating options in Guadalajara, but I went to a nice private school and was getting the best of the best girls on campus. It also helped that I lived off campus, so I could have people over whenever, and I was fairly popular because I was on the baseball team there. Now, my initial perceptions, having just stepped into Guadalajara, were that not only were the women fun, fit, and attractive, in fact, they're next level beauty, guys. If you've never been to Guadalajara, I definitely recommend you take a trip there. But it literally seemed from one day to the next that I went from no options, just no chances at all, to being the cock of the walk, being the king of the campus, just walking around like I could literally have anyone I wanted. And in doing so, I think it started to build that persona for me living in Mexico. Now, naturally, once I went back to the US, I didn't do too bad. I was in shape and I had some confidence and some solid wins under my belt, pun intended. At this stage of my life and for most of my 20s, I did the serial monogamy route because I was in the corporate workforce. I didn't really have a lot of time to have a nice, active, robust, being social first all the time, like in college type dating life. It was really just whenever I could fit girls into my schedule, and there wasn't a lot of free time. So, serial monogamy worked well for me. It actually didn't, but a lot of guys in this stage of their life, they fall into that kind of relationship model as well. It's just convenient. However, since I was back in the United States, I noticed yet another immediate difference in stark contrast to my initial experiences in Mexico was that, yeah, I could still get pretty cool girls, and I was in Southern California. There's a lot of cool girls in California, contrary to popular belief, but it always seemed like something was missing. They weren't quite as feminine. They weren't quite as fun. They weren't quite as outgoing. It always seemed like there was an agenda or an angle or a power struggle or vying for control in the relationship rather than just letting things unfold and blossom naturally, which is what I had grown accustomed to having spent time very young in Mexico. And this was something I definitely missed. Yeah, I still had decent relationships. Like anywhere in the world, there's some good, there's some bad. Most of them fall somewhere in between, but it seemed like it was pulling teeth. Or how I describe it, and a lot of the guys I work with describe it, is it seemed like the harder I tried, the less I got back in return, which from an ROI, return on investment perspective, is just really not worth a lot of guys' times, which is likely why you clicked on this video to begin with. And you're even at least remotely exploring the opportunities of, hey, I don't have to be beholden to subpar women. I can really level up and get what I have always been looking for in my dating life. And there's no reason you shouldn't. Now, wrapping up my serial monogamy journey, after having a couple of real dud relationships, ones where it just wasn't the right girl, I just wasn't getting out of it what I was putting in and felt like there were no options at all, I was already kind of going back to, okay, I'll have the abundance in my dating life. I'll date multiple women. I'll just kind of keep it fun and loose and fancy free. And that works really, really well for me. And then once I was starting to get back into that stride, again, still being in Southern California, 2020 happened. So the entire world shut down, or at least my entire world shut down. And at this point, I realized that, okay, well, having a high cost California lifestyle with literally zero income, and at this point, no idea when the economy was going to open back up, that did not work for me. So I made a very, very drastic, although I was leaning in this direction years prior, decision. The global event of 2020 just accelerated this plan. Was I sold all the rest of my remaining stuff, put a bunch of cash in an envelope, and went abroad. I actually worked in Central America for a year, which was awesome because there weren't a lot of guys like me, let's just say that. And I had the red carpet rolled out to me. I was treated like a celebrity. And again, not that I did bad in Southern California by any means. In fact, with the proximity to Mexico, I dated a good mix of Latina girls and just native Southern California girls. I always notice the differences. I always lean towards the Latinas, although, a classic California cool blonde is nice every now and then. My heart just always lied with the Latinas. So going to Central America to work for a year and no other people like me in the marketplace, I had a really good time. I was starting to get that air of confidence back that had long left me since those university days. And after tying up that contract, I decided I probably don't want to move back to the US, especially after 2020, when I realized that, okay, just arbitrarily, the government can close the entire world down. That does not work for me, completely reshifted my entire life. And that includes my dating life. So I ultimately settled on Mexico City. I had lived in Mexico, albeit in Guadalajara, years prior, really enjoyed it, already know the lay of the land, had already learned the language. And it was a really easy transition. In fact, there are places in my own country that feel more foreign to me than just going down south, since I had lived within such a close proximity for most of my life to the Mexican border anyways. There's already a large Mexican influence in everywhere I've always lived in the US. So Mexico didn't really feel like too far of a logical stretch. In fact, it seemed natural. And of course, spoiler alert, no, not a spoiler alert, we're getting towards the end. Just as I had come down to Guadalajara in my late teens, early 20s, in my early 30s, I realized, hey, you know what? Mexico still has it all. Now, there are some differences. Mexico City, huge population, massive population density. Literally, whatever you're looking for, you will find. I don't have as much as the novelty factor since, as compared to 20 years ago, there are a lot more foreigners coming into Mexico, especially in Mexico City, which is like a New York, Los Angeles, London. It is a global cosmopolitan city. But that also means you get girls from all over the world. So, guys, it doesn't matter some of these hangups I hear guys say, oh, well, I'm from X place, or I'm of Y ethnicity, or I have Z issue. Doesn't matter. There is someone for everyone here. In fact, there is an overabundance of girls here. You can really get in trouble if you're not careful. And a lot of guys do that. They come down here, they burn out real quick, and then they have to go back home, stack their cash, and then come back with a more sensible approach. I'll be honest, my first year or so here, yeah, I was in it too. Oh my God, especially after having been locked down during the whole 2020 fiasco. Oh my God, I'm free again. And I had a good time, went out, explored the market explored me, and then eventually found what I'm looking for, found the relationship model, the cadence, the lifestyle in the dating vertical of my life that I was looking for. And I've made it work for me. I've focused on my career, my hobbies, and my fitness, my health, and my friends. And dating is just a natural part of my life. In fact, guys, once you do get this whole thing down, and Mexico City is the place to do it, just because there's unlimited options. You will literally never run out of options here, which is mind blowing until you actually see it yourself. And in fact, most guys aren't even ready for it. They get off the plane thinking, okay, I'm going to have this uphill battle like I do in my home country. Nope, immediate. Like literally, if a girl sits next to you on the plane, you could take her on a date, like instant date right from the airplane. No joke. This isn't hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating. So when you come down here and explore this for yourself, you realize, okay, now I can be proactive with my dating. Now I can go for exactly what it is I've always wanted rather than having to settle back home. And I think that is the biggest thing that not only attracts guys to coming here, but keeps them here. Or, let's be honest, a lot of guys find girls here and then take them back to their home countries. There's different ways of going about that. Again, there's different relationship models or how you want to structure your dating life. But Mexico City, guys, I think it's a good launching pad. It's a good starting off point. You'll get some instant confidence boosters. You'll find that women are open and they're fun and they're flirty and they're feminine. And that really gets you out of your shell and allows you just to be comfortable coming into yourself. The fact is, you get to learn another language too. That definitely helps out. You get a little of that Latin flair. You learn how to dance, get your groove, get your rhythm, get your vibe a little more loose. That to a lot of women is a little more attractive. And the biggest thing about moving abroad is, especially if you're learning a second language, you essentially create a second identity. You create a second brain. So all of those hangups, all those turmoils, all of those negative past experiences, you can create a new you in the new language. And just like when I was in Guadalajara as a teenager, oh my God, new me was very well liked in the dating market. And that has continued to shape my identity in Spanish that I present when I go out here. So extra bonus, guys, it doesn't matter where you're at in your journey, what you're looking for. There is something for everyone here in Mexico City. Even if you're not looking to make the full move, take an exploratory trip. It doesn't hurt. It's not too far from where you're at in the US or Canada, or even, you know what, there's direct flights to London or all over the world here. It is a major global city. So do yourself a favor, actually. Take the next step. If you're done itching and clicking and watching these videos, you just want to get down here and see it for yourself. That's what I recommend. That's what I did. That's what Joel did. That's what everyone in our network did. And to be honest, a lot of guys are still here, or they make it a frequent stopping over point. They do the hybrid model. I did that for years in Southern California. Worked in California. The minute I had a 3-day weekend or some time I wanted to take off, boom, right back down to Latin America. So if you're ready to take that next step, guys, we have something for everyone. Click that link down below. It's less than a 1-minute application, really just to get a sense of what it is you're looking for, to see if there's synergy there. 1990s corporate buzzword. And if it appears to be a fit, we'll get on the quick call. We'll map out your goal set. We'll figure out where you're at, where you want to go, how long you want to do it, any sort of restrictions, limitations, and we will build a plan custom tailored to you. We just want to get you to where you're going as quickly as possible. And you'll find, at least in my experience, that most guys are like 90-95% of the way there already. They just have some hangups. They just have some little adjustments and tweaks we have to make, or they don't even know a system exists. Cool, that's great. I'll just give you my system, and then we'll plug in exactly what it is you need to do to meet your goal set, since I'm different from you and Joel's different from me and so on. So do yourself a favor. Might be the biggest favor you've done ever in your dating life. Click that link below. Fill out that less than 1-minute application. We'll get you on a call. If you're not ready, totally cool, but show us some love. Like, comment, share, subscribe, refer to a friend, and we will see you on the next one.